Ruben's doing his icebreaker tonight, which is his very first speech. He's never been a great team player, but he loves exciting, adrenaline-filled sports. Talk is called Welch. What are you thinking of? Ruben Welch.
Imagine a small boy, looks a bit like me, so am I, standing in defence on a rugby pitch. Coming towards him, the fattest boy in his class, Richard Bassett. Rugby ball under his arm. I shut my eyes, because it is indeed me on the pitch. Stick my foot out and hope for the best. Needless to say, Richard Bassett is not fooled by this manoeuvre and scores the try. The PE teacher is irate. Welch! What are you thinking of? Well, I never told the PE teacher what I was thinking of. But if the truth be told, I was thinking about going sailing that weekend. In fact, for my entire school career, I spent most of my time sitting at the back of the class, thinking about tacking, jibing, capsizing even. I bought a book, Joshua Slocum, Sailing Alone Around the World. That's what I wanted to do when I grew up. Well, needless to say, I failed my A-levels. I was spending rather too much time thinking about sailing, and it seemed the only thing I could do was join the Royal Navy to get to see the world. Well, I never really did travel the world with the Navy, because as soon as I joined it and left home, my aspirations to be a sailor kind of sailed off themselves over the horizon. And I was left stuck in Portsmouth, not very happy with my job, thinking I need a new sport. And while I was in Portsmouth on the harbour walls, I saw a man crimping along on the limestone blocks of the Napoleonic fort above the crushing waves, and I thought, now that's what I want to do. So I did. And that winter, I trained away like mad, and the following summer, rushed off to the scary sea cliffs of Swanage, went to the grit edges of the Peak District, and even as far as Northumberland to visit the sandstone. And of course, these thoughts and these exciting experiences I was having led me to go and try going abroad. And on my first trip, I went to the Verdon Gorge in the south of France. So imagine me there in the south of France, at Verdon, peering over the edge for the first time. It's 1,000 feet to the valley floor. The trees are about that big. And then imagine me a few days later, only 50 feet further down the cliff, but coming back up having scaled it. But it's pitch dark and all my friends are out with their torches. Where are you? Where are you? I'm here, save me. That was quite exciting. But anyway, the real thing all climbers aspired to at the time was to climb in Yosemite Valley in America, California in fact. So I decided I needed a plan to get to Yosemite and to have time to train to climb the Great Cliffs. And of course, being in the Navy, but you only have a few weeks leave, this wasn't very easy. So with two of the other people that I'd been benighted with in the Verdon, we decided that we'd give up our jobs in the Navy and start an indoor climbing wall instead. And it's still there in New Haven. So you can be nervous. So, after a year, business was going really, really well. And we decided, I know, we'll take 2 months off and we'll go to the States. So we did. And we started in Utah, and then we went to Nevada, and then we went to Arizona, and then, best of all, we got to Yosemite Valley. And there was the nose on El Capitan, the most famous route of all, 3,000 feet stretching up as far as the eye could see. So, all worked up, and we went for it, and climbed for a day, and for a night, and then into another day, and we finished. Mission accomplished. It was done. Well, that was pretty hard to top that, but we tried to a few years later when I went to Africa for 3 months. And I started in Cape Town. We worked our way up through the deserts of Namibia, into Mugabe, Zimbabwe, up through the lakes of Malawi. Finishing, in fact, in Zanzibar, which we talked about a few weeks ago. Well, by the time I'd finished these travels, I was quite actually worn out with climbing, even though it was quite exotic places, and I thought, I need a new challenge. What shall I do now? Well, I really like the deserts in Namibia, so I thought, maybe I could get into doing something in the deserts closer to home, like North Africa. And maybe I could do it on a motorbike, never ridden before. So I rushed home and bought adventure motorcycling around the world from a local bookstore. And I rushed off and learnt to motorbike in 5 days from scratch. And you must imagine me on Seafield Road on my 125 doing my CBT. This is the most exciting thing a man could ever do, screaming along Seafield Road at 40 miles an hour. Well, I did realise that I needed a bigger bike, so I rushed along to the local shop that sold assortment of bikes and said, I need the biggest desert bike that you have. Bearing in mind this is Ferry Road we're talking about. And they said, we just happen to have one in. Here you are, sir. And it was exactly what I wanted. It had a big petrol tank, had the knobbly tyres, it even had a shiny stainless steel super sports exhaust pipe. Well, I'm afraid to say that that bike disintegrated long before I ever got to the desert, but I did get there, in fact only a year ago. And I went to Morocco on a tour, which I can recommend. And we went through lush palm groves, up through the Atlas Mountains, past the snow and over to the northern Sahara. And there were the sand dunes that I dreamed of. Well, and there were the sand dunes that I dreamed of. Well, how do you beat that as a trip? Well, my plan this year, coming in March, is to go to Libya and race 5,000 kilometres in 10 days across the deserts. The Merzouk Desert, in fact. And that's going to be pretty hard to top. However, I think when I've done that, I'll be a bit of a loose end. And I'm not quite sure what sport I'll need to take up after that, because it will take some topping. But I do know that the sport that I won't be taking up is rugby.
Thank you, Ruben. That was excellent for our speech. Unbelievable.